We're back. Welcome to this episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast. I'm your host, Brian Kennedy, alongside my co-hosts, Josh Cox, Jamie Holt, and Scott Midland. And we all were able to take a collective breath this past week as Duke was on the bye. We've got all things Florida State coming up. We've got a giveaway to talk about. We've got This Week in Blue Devil history, telling the tape, the predictions. But before we get to all of that, I remember this week, Josh, we got to keep the lights on. We got to thank the sponsors first. Let's thank Matt Bliven, who is our ticket giveaway sponsor, Hellraiser sponsor as well. Matt's a Durham native, Duke fan as always, and is ready to tackle any question you might have pertaining to the real estate market in and around the Durham Triangle area. Yes, one big heart. There you go. He's super knowledgeable and would love to answer any questions you might have if it pertains to buying, selling, building, or just looking to relocate to the Triangle. And again, he is giving away 4 tickets to this week's sold out Florida State game. We will give you the details here in a few minutes on how to enter that drawing. But if you are interested in speaking with Matt a little bit more, all things real estate, give him a call at 919-323-0527 or email him at mlb@nestrealty.com. So we've got the home portion out of the way as far as where you live. Josh, who else do we have to thank?
Well, listen, if you're going to have a house, you got to make sure that it's warm in the winter and that it's cool in the summer. And I don't know about you guys, but this week, it looks like tomorrow night, Wednesday night, down this later on this week, we're going to be in the high 30s. And so get that heat turned on. But before you do, you may want to give Hometown Air a call. Their service contracts ensure that your systems will run efficiently no matter what season of the year. And there's nothing worse than having a cold night, turning your heat on, and that heat not working like you want it to work. That's just not a good thing. And so I do want to encourage you to reach out to Hometown Air. Look into their service contracts. They'll give you peace of mind knowing that your system is running smoothly and efficiently throughout all the seasons that we experience here in North Carolina. Just a reminder, if you do sign up for a service contract and you mentioned the Section 17 podcast, you will receive $17 off your first year. Great deal. I'm always looking to save money. And so you can find out more information, especially if you live in Durham, Hillsborough, Roxborough, Mebane, Pittsburgh, Raleigh, anywhere around the Triangle. Find out more information at hometownairnc.com, hometownairnc.com, or you can call them at 919-568-3212. So we got you in a home. We got your home heated and cooled. And now we got to have you something to wear while you're sitting and lounging in your home. And that is where Home Field Apparel, our friends at Home Field Apparel, come into play. And you may have seen, if I can say this, you may have seen Nina King out and about rocking some Home Field. She's a big Home Field Apparel t-shirt wearer. I've seen her 2 or 3 different times rocking the Home Field Apparel. But they are the leader in vintage brand gear, and so they have some really cool Duke stuff. And then I will say this: they've got, I think, some NASCAR stuff. They've got some other gear. So if you like that kind of stuff, and then if you have friends that are not Duke fans, or maybe you have a second school that you like, they have just tons of licensing agreements there across, big schools, small schools, whatever it may be. So I want to encourage you to head to homefieldapparel.com. You can use code Section 17 at checkout, and you'll get 15% off your first order. This past week, we had a few of our listeners who were looking at some of the new jackets and posted that they utilized the Section 17 link. And so the more you do that, the better it is on you and the better we look to our friends at homefieldapparel.com. And so check them out. We do appreciate all 3 of our Hellraiser sponsors. Brian, we can get into the good stuff now.
That is good stuff. They help pay the bills. They keep the
That's
lights
true.
on.
True.
The trifecta in all things home. Well, as I stated earlier, Duke took a much needed and deserved bye week this past weekend after the heartbreaking loss to Georgia Tech the weekend before. But we've got to move forward, fellas. But before we do, we got to just update everyone. What did we do this past weekend? How did we, the Section 17 crew, spend our bye week? Of course, I'm sure a lot of football watching was involved, but anything else, Jamie? Go to the beach?
Breaking news. Breaking news. I did not go to the beach.
What?
That's, that's That's
Dude, I'm
breaking
logging
news.
out. I'm logging off.
My
That's
sister and family
ridiculous.
came in town, and I was actually in Raleigh, so like
Damn it, you have a reputation to uphold, Jamie.
one weekend I didn't go. Next weekend though, after the Florida State game, Saturday morning, I'm heading down for the week. So
Nice. My youngest daughter had her birthday this past weekend, so I got to watch UNC get beat early in the day, and then we went to a little Conkey action Saturday night and hung out with my family. And so, happy birthday to my youngest. Happy 14th, Scott. I know what you did? You watched 8 screens of football all day Saturday.
I watch football. I watch football. I watch football. I watch football. Oh, and I watched the referees suck in the Big Ten. Sorry, SC, because you got screwed. And, watch the ACC do what they usually do. Yeah, so, another great weekend. But yes, like Josh said, I have used, if you're not a YouTube TV fan, which we need a sponsor, by the way. If you're not a YouTube TV fan, the multi-view 4 screens,
Incredible.
it is heaven on earth on Saturdays. It's even better on Sundays when you can watch all the games on at the same time, unless you're watching the Broncos or the Panthers because they both suck.
Well, Cowboys too. After this past after
Yeah.
yesterday's showing,
I don't
good
watch
Lord.
them anyway. I don't care about those guys.
By the way, YouTube TV sponsors the Bill Simmons podcast, and we're basically up there with Bill Simmons, right? So like, they need to just come on board over here with the good guys.
I have nothing
Also-
but great things to say. I'm glad Josh finally convinced me to go down that road
Come on.
instead of
Also
paying
with
those
YouTube
premium
TV,
prices with that crappy cable
Yeah.
people.
also with YouTube TV, you're actually live instead of like 6 weeks behind when you're with Hulu.
Yes.
Hey, the
Yes.
Duke Georgia Tech game just kicked off, guys. By the way,
Yeah. Yeah. Don't spoil it for Brian. Don't spoil it. He's trying to see if the Braves are gonna make it to the next round of the playoffs or not. Still.
from 1992. No, got to watch my boys play soccer. They've been sick for like the last 2 weeks, so it was good to see them both on the field. Felt good not having to rush to get to a game. Don't get me wrong, I love Duke football, but it was good to just go home, watch some football. While it was fun, good to see both State and UNC lose, I would be remiss to say if we didn't mention the Kraft family. Tylee Kraft unfortunately passed away Saturday morning before the game. We've got an interview coming up with Taylor Tannebaum. We talked a little bit about that as well. But it's just so heartbreaking. I think Josh and I actually saw him last year before the Carolina game, and he was in good spirits. Did not realize that he was at the Duke UNC game this year. It's just you don't realize something until after the fact. But football is one thing, but going through a loss, whether you're a fan or not, is another. And our thoughts are with the UNC community, with the football team, and with the Kraft family. But other than that, just was able to relax, get the batteries recharged for 7 o'clock Friday night. It's Florida State, fellas.
Let's go.
And this is another big one that we have had circled for years. It has been a tough 30 plus years for the Blue Devils against Florida State. But if there was ever a year that Duke could finally get the monkey off of its back, it is this year based off of what we've seen. And as I stated, we're back with an interview too, guys. And we've had Wes Durham, we've had Mark Packer. Who else have we had? Am I missing anyone? I feel like we had someone else. Nope, that was it. So we had to keep the ACC network train rolling. And we were able to interview Taylor Tannebaum, former Florida State alumni and current host of the ACC Huddle. Here's our interview with her. Well, it took us a little bit, but we're finally able to have Taylor Tannenbaum, host of the ACC Huddle, joining us on this episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast. Taylor and the crew, they're heading out west this weekend. They are going to be in sunny California for the SMU Stanford game, and we had to bring on a Florida State alumni to talk all things Duke and Florida State. So, Taylor, we really appreciate you coming on.
I'm happy to be here. I'm also excited to see you guys in a couple weeks because we also found out, when they do the designations about 10 days ahead of time, we are heading to Durham in a couple weeks, and that should be fun as well. So we're going to get SMU back-to-back and a little bit of Duke action as well. So pumped.
We are looking forward to see you guys. I can't remember the last time. Was it the Clemson game last year that y'all were there at
NC
Wallace Wade?
State, NC
That's right.
State.
That's right. That's right. Forgot that one. 24-3. In case any state fans were wondering, bringing
Never
up good
forget.
memories. Well, look, we're halfway through the season. What has been your biggest surprise so far in the ACC, other than FSU being 1-5?
Well, that is a big surprise. I would argue one of the biggest. I think we expected Miami to be where they are. I think we expected Clemson to be back at the top. And we all talked about, Cade Klubnik, 1 year older, 1 year wiser, another year of marriage with Garrett Riley as his OC. They should be better. I think my big surprise right now, Pitt's sitting undefeated. First time
Yes.
6-0 since 1982. I would say that's my biggest surprise. Coming off of the season they had last year, where a bowl game was not a thing. They fell off a cliff real early after they realized that quarterback situation with Phil Jurkovec was just not going to work out, and it just seemed like the train never left the station. This year, it's been a completely different story, and you have to credit Pat Narduzzi and making a change at offensive coordinator and going a completely different route than what he's used to, right? With more fast-paced, up-tempo. Cade Bell running the show, who's in his mid-30s, maybe early 30s. I think he might be a little bit younger than me. He might be like 31 years old. Running the show and bringing in Eli Holstein, who at quarterback was obviously a high recruit if he went to Alabama first. And it's just been a complete shift. So I would say that's probably the other biggest surprise.
Probably one of the few years we as Duke fans are happy do not have Pitt on the schedule because
Right?
they are looking very good this year. All right, so Duke's Tobacco Road foes, State, North Carolina, let's just call it like it is. They are in decline. UNC's lost 4 straight. State has lost 2 straight. What's needed for both programs to get back on track and have a better second half of the season?
So if we start with Carolina, obviously they've emotionally been going through a ton with the loss of wide receiver Tylee Kraft, who fought a heroic battle with cancer, and you saw it really on Saturday on display. Even though you saw a fight out of them this last Saturday, actually, it just didn't happen for them on the winning end of things. I will say I felt like I saw a little more fight than I normally seen, but it starts on the defensive side of the ball. And it seems to be that's been their Achilles heel the last couple of years. And they brought in a new coordinator in Jeff Collins. And for whatever reason, they start a season really strong. And it seems to taper off as time goes. And stopping the run is a bit of a problem. Tackling is a problem. And a lot of, the guys will tell you, and anyone who's played football will tell you, tackling a lot of that's an effort thing. And I know they have the talent. And Mac Brown's obviously a Hall of Fame head coach, but for whatever reason, it's not all coming together there. I think they've done enough offensively, to be honest with you. You have a great back in Omari and Hampton. And even though they've had a quarterback carousel, Jacoby Criswell has been serviceable. Like I feel like he's gotten better and he's putting points on the board, scoring 30 plus points. It's just defensively has not been able to match. So something there with the defense and closing out stronger has been a problem in Chapel Hill. Now, as for NC State, they too obviously have had their quarterback issues the last couple of years, but this year, even with Grayson McCall, I don't think it looked the way that we thought it was going to look. And maybe we didn't get enough of a sample size, and it takes a little bit of time to get going, and obviously wishing him a healthy, speedy recovery as well. I'm still shocked that they cannot figure out a way to run the ball. And
Yeah.
that's been their issue for years. It's not just been this year, last year, and the year before. Like, it's been the last 4 or 5 years that they have struggled with their ground game. And I thought, the Duke audience watching with Jordan Waters going over there would be a complete shift because he's a great running back. And it just hasn't translated. And I think a lot of it starts there. Like, you cannot be one dimensional, and they cannot get a ground game going. And CJ Bailey, at the end of the day, their new quarterback, is still a freshman, right? Like, he's a baby. He's
Yeah.
going to make freshman mistakes. He's going to be really good, in my opinion. So the future is bright now with everything in college football. Like, you have no idea what your team's going to look like next year. To me, it starts with the ground game. And I do understand the defense hasn't necessarily been what it has been the last couple of years. But obviously turnovers when you have a young quarterback, and the inability to establish the run has been a bit shocking to me.
Yeah, and I think I speak for everyone. It was just so sad to hear the news of Tyler Craft passing away.
Sucks.
All fan bases saw what he went through. Obviously we have fun with rivalries, Duke, UNC State, UNC, but
Yeah.
collectively you could see the support from the other fan bases once the news came out. So I can only imagine what his teammates, of course, Mac Brown, the coaching staff, are going through. But yeah, that will be tough to really overcome this year. But things that happen off the field sometimes overtake things that happen on the field. So who knows? It might give this program a jolt just to
No,
honor
it
his
might.
memory. So
Very true. Very true. And you saw it. I felt like you saw it on Saturday. But again,
yeah,
closing things out, you saw it in the Duke UNC game. They had Duke right where they wanted them, and they couldn't close out like that. They just have to find a way to switch that, but hasn't found a way to.
and we didn't realize this, but Tylee was actually at the game on the sidelines for that Duke UNC game. So
Right.
it's just sad, but
Yeah.
we move on. But let's talk Friday night, 7:00, ESPN2, Florida State, Duke, 23rd overall matchup. In your opinion, is Duke as good as their record shows? And on the flip side, is FSU as bad as theirs?
Well, I have to go with what I've seen, and yes
Yeah.
and yes.
Okay.
Like I think Duke is as good as their record shows 100%. Look, they found ways to win their football games. I don't know how. I don't know. I don't care how they've done it, but they have. And with a new head coach and a lot of different pieces from last year, then I think there's credit where credit is due there. Now, on the Florida State side of things, like you can tell me all you want, there's talent on that field, and I know that there is. But you have to be a team. Like this is the ultimate team game. There are 11 guys on the field, whether who's on the field at whatever time, whatever side of the ball. And if you're not working together, it doesn't matter how individually talented you are. And for whatever reason, it hasn't come together. So until I see something different, like yes, their record indicates exactly who they are right now. And I love Mike Norvell. I love everything he stands for. And I know there are pieces of this team that are good, but they have not put it together. So I cannot sit here and be like, oh, well, this game could have gone the other way had this one thing changed. Like, no, there hasn't been a game where I felt like that. And it's not just one thing that needs fixing in Tallahassee. It's multiple different spaces. But so yeah, I guess the answer to that would be yeah. But Duke, I've been very impressed. The way they play. I know finally suffering their first loss to Georgia Tech. We were there in person in Atlanta. That's going to happen at this conference. Has had 9 ranked teams this season, different ranked teams, which is the most since 2018, which tells you that there's depth. So they were bound to suffer a loss at some point, but I just like the way that they're playing football, and that translates to wins.
Yeah, and I was doing some research getting ready for this episode and realized that there's a chance 15, 16 ACC schools could very well qualify for a bowl game. I mean, if we're being honest, FSU is still in the running for a bowl
They
game
are.
as well. So the ACC is a lot stronger than what a lot of people thought that the conference collectively would probably be this year based off of what we saw preseason.
I agree, and maybe it's not the teams you typically think,
Right.
but SMU has, raised the level of play, and their only loss is one to BYU. That's looking really good right now. And honestly, you look at Cal, like I know they've suffered 3 straight, but man, they're pushing everyone to the brink. Like there are some good teams. Pitt after what they did last year, Georgia Tech building off of what they did last year. Clemson is back to who they've been. Like there's some real competition in this league this year.
Shout out West Durham. That was his sleeper pick as we headed into the season. So good pick. That's twice. We had Mark last year predict Louisville and West did Cal this year. So pretty good. So we might have to bring you on preseason next year and give your sleeper pick. All right. Let's move to our fill in the blank. This is something we do with everyone that comes on for an interview. I'm just going to give you a question, and whatever pops into your head, give us your honest answer. Your grade for Manny Diaz 6 games into the 2024 season is?
A. It has to be. And that's not just me being nice because I'm on a Duke-centric podcast. Like, you take over a program that has seen success over the last couple of years, and you don't really know what you're going to get. New quarterback, new coordinators, all this good stuff. I know he kept David Feely, which has been the strength and conditioning coach for anyone who's listening that doesn't know that. That has been so important to what they've done. But man, he has this team playing and carrying over what they did over the last couple of years, and I think that's huge.
A player that could turn heads on FSU's squad on Friday night is?
Lawrence Toafili. He has a chance to go off at any time, and he can, a little wildcat action. He can catch it out of the backfield. He can run the rock. So I would say Lawrence Toafili can be a game changer.
Okay. Duke will defeat Florida State for the first time in series history if?
They can bother Brock Glenn.
Get to him
Because
in the
Brock
backfield.
Glenn, yes, because Brock Glenn is still very young. He'll be making just his fourth career start. And granted, he gave them a lot more juice in his last start against Clemson than I feel like DJU had done all year. But at the end of the day, he's still prone to those rookie mistakes. And this is a defense that's gotten after it. And you can score enough. Malik Murphy and company can do what they can do. And I think that Duke will be able to run the football this week. Put a couple points on the board. I think if you can bother Brock Glenn, you have a real shot at winning this thing.
On the flip side, Florida State will win its 23rd straight against Duke if?
I'd say if they don't turn the ball over. Like you gotta play a little bit of a possession game here too. Like every point I feel like is going to matter in this game. I think the trenches is going to be a big deal here. So again, I'll turn to that offense and Brock Glenn and being young. Like if you don't give the opportunities away, you'll have an opportunity to win this thing. So that Duke defense can do a little something.
Okay. Before I let you go, as I stated earlier, you are a Florida State alum.
I am.
Give us a special memory from your time at Florida State.
Ooh, a special memory. My most special Florida State memory, and this actually wasn't even when I was in college. I was 6 months removed.
Okay.
And I just graduated in May and I got my first job in Dothan, Alabama. So I was still very close to Tallahassee. So I still covered Florida State as a sports reporter in Dothan. And I got to go all the way out to California for them to play in the national championship game against Auburn. And I watched an insane comeback. So still being a recent grad, and I didn't have to pay for the trip because it was a work trip. And I got to stand on the 10-yard line and watch that final touchdown. Was the coolest experience of my life, getting to go in the locker room afterwards. And even all my friends were there. My brother was there because there was a ton of Florida State people there. So it was work and play for me. And that is something I will absolutely never forget.
Awesome. Well, Taylor, thank you so much for coming on, and safe travels out to California. And we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks in Wallace Wade.
See you in Durham soon. Appreciate you.
And thank you, Brian, for taking care of that interview with Taylor. Really appreciate her coming on. Looking forward to seeing her and the crew, our boy Eric and the rest of the crew next weekend, as they'll be in Durham for the SMU game, as she mentioned. And so, really, the Pony Riders. Looking forward to that. But listen, as Brian mentioned beforehand, we got this game with Florida State coming up this Friday night, and we got 4 tickets to give away. And we really appreciate all that Matt Bliven does and his generosity. And as a reminder, this game is sold out. And so you can currently get tickets only on the secondary market. And so, that is going to be interesting to see what it actually looks like in the stadium on Friday night. But this game is sold out and you can win 4 free tickets. All right. So we're going to tell you what you need to do in order to be entered to win. And I'm going to pull it up here so that I don't miss anything. All right, here's what we're going to do. Tuesday morning. So probably by the time you've listened to this, we do have some Monday night people, and shout out to our Monday night people because we get this up like 10:30, 11 o'clock on Monday nights. And some of you watch and listen. Shout out to those. But Tuesday morning, there will be a collab post on Instagram from Matt Bliven and from our Duke Football Talk at Duke FB Talk. So the first thing you need to do is follow both accounts. You need to like the post. So follow and like. That's pretty standard, right, for an Instagram thing. For additional entries, you can share the post on your story. So that's an additional entry. And if you do that, to make sure we see it, you need to tag us. So don't just share it. You need to actually tag us when you share it in your story, or we won't see it. And then you can comment "Go Duke" on this YouTube video. So if you do all those things, you can get 3 total entries. So if you follow and like, that's an entry. If you share on your story, that's an entry. and tag us. And then if you comment on YouTube, that's an entry. So you can get up to 3 entries. Once again, these tickets are selling for a high price. We're going to give you 4 of them. And we will do that drawing on Thursday. So you'll have 2 days, full days to get all of your stuff in. So let me repeat it. Matt Bliven, Duke Football Talk. We will do a collab post on Instagram. If you follow us and like the post, you're automatically entered. That's your 1 entry. Second entry, if you share and tag us in the share, that's a second entry. Third entry, if you come on YouTube and comment Go Duke, and then you can obviously comment more. We don't just want you to comment Go Duke, but comment more. But comment on YouTube and you can get a third entry, and then we will let you know Thursday at noon. We will draw the winner. Guys, did I miss anything there? Is that super clear? I want to make sure it's clear.
Make sure you're a Duke fan when you enter.
Yes.
I will say, even though Florida State is 1-5, they still travel well. I have heard from those that are Florida State fans. They don't care. They are going to be in Wallace Wade. So, folks, I'm not just saying this for the giveaway. I'm also just saying this in general. Do whatever you can to get your butts in Wallace Wade for Friday night. We would love for the turnout to be like it was for the UNC game, 70-30. 80-20 would be even better. But if we're being honest, this is a powerhouse football program that has been around for a very long time. I'd be happy with 60-40 at this point. But whatever you can do, if you can fit it within your budget, if you can find tickets, get to Wallace Wade, be there and cheer on the Devils.
And Brian says that he's bringing 3 Florida State fans to the game. Just FYI, guys. I just want to let the cat out of the bag there.
Hey, what's the saying? Happy wife, happy life. I
that's
can't.
True.
I'm sorry.
So listen, Duke fans, I want you to understand this. Brian's wife's a Carolina fan, and he's bringing Florida State people to the Florida State game. But that's okay. They're actually really awesome. So if you see, and by the way, may I say this, Duke fans, if I could just be, Scott and I were in Tallahassee last year for the Duke Florida State game. And may I say the Florida State fans were incredible hosts. They were so kind to us. They invited us to tailgates. They hung out. They were super cool. And so, like, Duke fans, like, let's make sure we reciprocate that to Florida State fans this weekend and be good hosts, right? Be good hosts. So, y'all know what time it is. You gave us some questions. We're going to do our best to answer them in a timely manner. Our guy, Jamie, shout out to Jamie. He gets to go through all these and figure out which questions apply and group them together. It's like the worst job on the podcast, Jamie. And you do a great job at it. So we just want to let you know we appreciate you.
We're not going to ramble this time. It's just going to be 1-word answers.
Fill in the blank.
Yeah. Just 1-word answers.
We don't play that team this year.
Sorry. All right, so let's get started. I figured I'd start us with a little FSU talk. I know Brian has some stats that he gathered up for us too. At Blade for Duke, he says so. There's no DJU for the Noles. With that said, what makes you most nervous about FSU's offense?
I mean, one thing that makes me nervous is anytime you go through a quarterback change, there's like a rally. There's a rally potential there, and then you couple that with a bye week, and I don't care if it was Bryce Young, Panthers Bryce Young back there. There's going to be a little bit of a rally. I feel like a natural rally tendency there, so that makes me a little bit nervous. I don't know enough, about the new quarterback to say what he's going to be. I believe he does run the ball fairly well, and so. But the dual threat has not really hurt Duke that crazy. Honestly, in the last couple of seasons, it used to be mobile quarterbacks would run all over Duke, and Duke's defense has proven to be, up for the challenge there. But Brian, what have you found in your research?
I've got more positivity than not negativity when it comes to this team. So Florida State has struggled this year, obviously, with them being 1-5. And like I try to do every week, I try to pull up the opponent's rankings as far as the NCAA goes. So as I stated,
wait, I thought we didn't do deep stuff on our podcast.
I don't know what facts and stats are. I pull it.
Yeah. I mean, we're actually we have no idea what we're talking about.
Lord, I was born a rambling man. Oh, sorry. So a couple of weeks ago, I decided to do this moving forward, just try to see where our opponent ranks as far as the NCAA. There's 133 FBS schools. So remember this, 133. When it comes to FSU, they are 129th overall when it comes to their offense. 129. They're only averaging 273 yards a game. They average 215 passing yards a game, 83rd best in the nation. Here's the big one. And Duke fans, if Duke can keep FSU around this number Friday night, I have a strong feeling the monkey will finally be off of our backs. FSU is only averaging 58 rushing yards a game. And we're talking after 6 games, folks. Not 2, not 3, 6. That puts them dead last in FBS. To Josh's point, anytime you make a substantial change, whether it be a head coach, a quarterback, a coordinator, whatever, you usually get that contact high for a game. You got to remember, FSU has already had their contact high with Brock Glenn, and that was against Clemson. He went for 228 with 2 touchdowns and an interception. Yes, he is a dual threat, but he only rushed for 15 yards. So it coincides with what I just stated, 58 rushing yards a game. So if Florida State wants to beat Duke, they've got to beat Duke in the air. And just an FYI, Duke's only given up 157 passing yards a game, 10th best in the country, folks. Not the ACC, the country. So take that for what you will. But as I was doing that research today, I was texting the guy saying, if there was ever a year for us to beat FSU, it is this year.
And
I won't-
mentioned today, Brock Glenn does have a big arm. That's one of the things that Coach Diaz mentioned today. And honestly, Josh and I were there last year. If it wasn't for Jordan Travis last year, Duke would have probably won the game. Jordan Travis ran the ball constantly and ran that RPO mess. And dude, he was a magician back there. He was David Copperfield.
151 yards a game, 79th best in the country. That's where Duke's defense is as far as rushing yards allowed.
Yeah, I'm with what Josh said. Anytime you make a quarterback change, so it makes you a little bit nervous. We kind of knew what we had with DJU, right? We saw the play on the field, and we saw what we had with DJU. With Glenn, we just don't know. I was looking, and he's not getting a crazy amount of receptions because let's face it, Florida State's offense has just been terrible. But Douglas for Florida State wide receiver is 5'9". He's got some speed. He's only got 18 receptions through 6 games because once again they've not been great. But it's for 306 yards and 17 yards a catch with a long of 50 and 2 touchdowns. So that's a guy probably to just keep an eye on. He's got some speed. But folks, if you think our offense is bad, a lot of the people complaining about Brewer and his offense, boy oh boy, Florida State's only scored over 20 points just once this year. I mean, that was against Georgia Tech in the first game.
And to put it into perspective, next week's opponent, SMU, hung 42 on Florida State earlier this year, 42-16. So, again, I mean, not the writing's on the wall, but everything is there for this to be potentially a Duke win on Friday night. What's next, Jamie?
As the kids say, that offense is booty cheeks. Go ahead, Jamie.
All right. Regina Lee, coming from Cali. She said, as you know, I've been a Fairweather fan. And no way Regina's a Fairweather fan.
This lady
comes
flies
all the
across
way.
the country to come to games. She's not a
That is
Fairweather
not
fan.
a Fairweather fan. Like, no way. She says, our enthusiasm, our unwavering support of Duke football over the highs and many lows motivated her to become an active fan. She says, I'm asking a history question. Have you seen Duke football improve significantly over a season? We have a great record this season, but the wins all feel shaky and the success of each play uncertain. and we all want to see improvement, and that brings more sure-handedness. Is this a team that can really improve over the season to achieve the excellence they themselves seek, or are key injuries and the newness too hard to overcome?
Wow. That's an incredible question, Regina. Shout out. So if you're asking a history question, historically, this Duke team has digressed as the season has progressed. We were the king of 4-0 and then finishing 5-7 or whatever in the past. Now, that was prior to this one gentleman arriving in Durham named David Feely. I believe what we have seen over the last 2 seasons is Duke able to sustain a little bit of that success. And at the very least, I mean, the last 2 years we've gone to bowl games and we've won the bowl games. So you have that. There is a ton of room for improvement over the last half of the season, and Duke is relatively injury free. We don't know yet about Nick Morris. We don't know yet about Jacquez. Pretty sure, Jacquez is probably going to try to give it a go. But other than that, we think we're okay. So with David Feely, and the strength and conditioning the way it is, this team is poised to improve over the last 6 games of the season. Now, it may not look that way because of the ease and the easy schedule that we've had for the first 6 games compared to the gauntlet of the ACC that we're about to go through for the last 6 games.
Yeah, but let's walk through this, and we have before. Heading into this year, and the media even said it, Duke would be lucky to win 3, maybe 4 games based off of all the preseason hype for some of these teams. Your Florida States.
Brian, you mean like the experts that give like more detailed analysis during their podcast? They had us at 3.5 wins.
Exactly.
Sorry,
Exactly.
continue.
But you look at it. UNC lost Max Johnson week 1. You have Florida State going through the troubles they're going through. State is going through a lot. A lot of people had State and Charlotte in the ACC championship game. I think I was one of them. Virginia Tech. Everyone thought Virginia Tech, this was the year that Brent Pry and his staff were going to show everyone what they were made of, and it hasn't come to fruition yet. Then you throw in some wild card games like Georgia Tech. Would we have been as nervous heading into the Georgia Tech game had they not defeated Florida State week 1? Because then we didn't know who Florida State was going to be either. So typically in these past years to where we go 4-0 and then finish 5-7, Duke's on the receiving end of injuries. Duke's on the receiving end of not having those key players. And to what Josh was saying, I think having Feely here, and he mentioned that in the behind the scenes video with me, every player is different when it comes to recovery, what body parts need to progress and get better to avoid those big injuries. Like you look at Alex Howard that got injured against North Carolina. Had that been a few years ago, we wouldn't have seen him for the rest of the game. That would have been it. He would have been done. So the fact that he was able to get back in the game and finish it was great. So they have the confidence. Yes, you do, Josh. They have the confidence. But I also think they know that with what Feely has put them through and what this coaching staff has put them through, they can overcome anything. So I honestly, in my heart, believe that they just look at Florida State as another game heading into Friday night.
I look at it this way. Oh boy, jeez. I look at it this way. Look no further than, I know we don't like to talk about him, but look no further than Mike Elko's first year. That team steadily improved all year. I know that we had a chance that we could have won some games and been in Charlotte for the ACC championship game, right? But that team steadily improved all year, and it started with the Temple game. They looked pretty good, and they kept going, and ended up with 9 wins. So I think that's a team to look at. Now, obviously, the next year injuries plagued that team, and that team went down, but still ended up with a bowl win. So all in all, I say last couple of years they've done some improvement over the years, over the games. Okay, next is Peter Dodge. I'll defend Duke and its policies to champion the elite academic institution cause until the day I utter my last "Go to hell, Carolina, go to hell." That said, Friday evening's game is currently near a sellout, and now it is a sellout, as we know. Crab Leg Tech travels well. If Duke officially says lots open at 5, I see a parking disaster. I've never been denied access to the Kim lot on a Friday night game before 3 previously, but rules for thee and not me. Having fans access the stadium area before 5 will certainly boost the pregame atmosphere, uh, lending football credibility to prospective recruits and the free sneakers lot. Does Duke officially open the lots officially before 5? And I don't think do we even know? We have no clue.
That is the most eloquent. That was Peter Dodge. I love you, man.
Took a shot at Carolina. Took a shot
He
at
did.
Crab Leg.
Crab legs. I mean, by the way, Jameis Winston. Like, I love that guy. We need to have him on the pod.
Pro bowler.
Yes. Best interview. But no. So I will say the timeline of events for Friday night will probably be released Tuesday or Wednesday. On social media. So we do not know. And honestly, we don't have any insider access or information on that. I'm assuming it's going to be the same as they're going to kind of say verbally, 5 p.m. But as Peter has said, we also have experienced the same thing. Around 3 o'clock, sometimes earlier, they start allowing people to come in. And so we'll just tell you this. We'll be at the tailgate around 3 o'clock. So we'll be in B3. We'll be tailgating. We got some sub sandwiches coming out this week. Come, Peter Dodge, I'm speaking to you. Come tailgate with us and come hang with us. But yeah, so all that to say, Duke is probably going to say 5 p.m. But if you wait till 5 p.m. to get to the game, like you're probably going to be, you're going to be in some traffic and there's going to be some issues there. So we're going to get there early. If for some reason something happens and we get there early and we can't get in, we'll tweet out and stuff like that, like what's going on. But we typically have never been denied entry.
I mean, I would say this for what it's worth. The first game, there were attendants at the lot to let people in at 12 o'clock. You had to have the pass to get in there, but there were people there at 12 o'clock. So if you in the area and you want to try it, hey, why not? But there's no guarantee.
As Peter so eloquently put it, Crab Leg Tech, there will be no crab legs at the tailgate for fear of Jameis Winston actually showing up to the tailgate, which would actually be cool because we'd love to have him, but no crab legs.
No crab legs.
I thought this was a good one. At Big Papa RV, he says, please discuss the rank in order of the most annoying of these 4 ACC traditions: the FSU Tomahawk chant, Chapel Hill College jump intro, the Miami turnover chain, or the Wake Forest University slow mesh. And for me, I've seen a lot of people that are like completely like hate the Tomahawk chant. I do not hate the Tomahawk chant. For whatever reason, it doesn't get on my nerves. Now, I hope we don't hear a lot of it Friday night, because if we're hearing a lot of it, then we're probably having issues, right?
Yeah. I will say there is nothing like hearing the Tomahawk chop in whatever their stadium is. I forget the name of it now. But down in
Campbell.
Doak Campbell. Yeah. In Doak Campbell. I mean, it is loud and it's pretty cool, man. Like, so I'm not going to rank that number 1. I think my number 1 is the slow mesh. Like, I absolutely, it's like the gimmicky, like it's so ridiculous. So I'm going to go slow mesh number 1.
Especially when Sam Hartman was there. Oh my God.
Oh, I know.
It was impossible to stop.
Any offense where you have to prove to the NFL that you can actually play football after you've been in that offense for 4 years is not cool. So anyway, I'm going to go slow mesh 1. Anything UNC. So UNC absolutely 2. The jump around or whatever their thing is 2. What was the other one?
The turnover chain.
Oh, I got to shout out Manny. I mean, that was a Manny thing. So like, I'm cool with that. I mean, it is annoying. Don't get me wrong, but that's not as annoying. So I'm gonna go that one fourth. Tomahawk chop. Those are kind of tied, but 100% slow mesh.
I feel like this, and I'll just say this much. If you're going to ruin a song like Jump Around, that's what Carolina did. They've ruined the song. Every time I hear it, I want to burn something just because I know that them white blue idiots over there 8 miles away are dancing around like a bunch of teenagers at their first prom.
Sorry, if you're watching on YouTube, I was getting ready for Every Time We Touch. I was doing the clap for Every Time We Touch.
Oh boy.
Next thing we're gonna sing it, right? That's for Kirk Klein. Next time we're gonna sing it.
Hey,
no.
go ahead. Brian said that, and I'll kind of mess with the Kurt Klein thing if you want me to.
I'm not a fan of the turnover chain. I'm not a fan of Miami fans, period. I know some Miami fans, and they're just obnoxious. They're the opposite of FSU fans. Sorry, it just is what it is. Anything Chapel Hill College, I don't care if you jump around. I don't care if it's in the air tonight. I just don't like it. The mesh, yeah, and then the chop is last. I mean, if Duke's not playing them, I love to hear it. Every first down, every touchdown. But please, can we please not play their fight song? Because if we do before the game, you can expect the tomahawk chop to start.
We're playing it. They're absolutely going to play it.
You can expect some booings from whatever section we're in. I promise you. I will be as loud as I am about anything else when that happens. But hey, on the Every Time We Touch thing real fast, I don't know if it's a question or not. I'm willing to take a bullet for the team here. I'm going to give you an if Duke makes the ACC championship game, I would do it. That's the
How
only
about
way
if we beat Florida State Friday night?
Then we enjoy ourselves and we go to bowl game this year. I'm not touching every time.
If we beat Miami in Miami, I'll sing it. That's when I would sing it.
Look, there's nothing more awkward than to see like older Duke alumni dancing to Every Time We Touch. It's incredible.
Any of my rankings as for at Big Papa RVs definitely start with Chapel Hill College. So that's number one for me. And the slow mesh, like Josh said, is terrible. Well, the turnover chain and the tomahawk chop they just don't bother me. So I guess I would rank them 3 and 4, but they don't really bother me at all. But like I said before, hopefully we don't see a lot of it Friday night, because if we do, then that probably means FSU is winning the game. All right. At drive to 2015, thought this was a good observation. I'm not sure if it's because he's had the shoulder issue. We know Jordan Moore needs more touches. How about if we line him up at QB, some to diversify an inconsistent offense? I could see doing that, just getting the ball in his hands, but I don't think you want to get him injured running the ball from the QB position, right? I mean,
can we just put that to bed? He is a wide receiver. I mean, unless last year, I think there was discussions of him possibly going back to quarterback, but that was like an emergency situation. You've still got Henry, and you've still got Grayson if you need them. I don't see that situation ever playing out. Now, of course, I say that, and then they'll break something out on Friday night. It always happens to me.
Well, listen, if they do something, it's going to be a gimmick, right? It's going to be a trick play where he maybe throws, right? Because he can still throw the football. So I don't think you're going to see him line up at quarterback, but you may see an end around where he throws a pass to somebody. I have no clue, but that's as much as you're going to see. I mean, as Coach Brewer has made it very clear, Malik is the guy, and I hope we don't have to go through any of those questions tonight. But you will see me get a little perturbed.
Yeah, but I could see wanting to get Jordan more touches. I mean, but I just wonder, ever since that shoulder injury, we've seen not quite as strong as he started the season. So I hope that's not something nagging that's going to be bothering him throughout the rest of the year.
I think the most creative, by the way, Jamie, that we would see Jordan would be in like a Deebo Samuel role, where like they just get him the ball like 10 different ways, right? Whether it's running the football, you know what I mean? Like he does a lot. I could see maybe that wrinkle, but I don't think it's going to be him playing quarterback. Sorry. Go to the next one.
All right. At the Duke of QP, Vandy beat Bama. He says, so this is the year that Duke beats FSU. Is it possible that this year we end 2 coaches' tenures at their respective schools in Mac Brown and Mike Norvell? I don't think Mike Norvell is going to get canned, but I mean, it's like Scott's saying, the money, like, I don't know what his buyout is like. So, but I know FSU fans are probably a little restless right now.
I mean, I could see this, Jamie, if they come out of Duke 1-6, and if we happen to, like, it. I'm not saying we'll beat them like SMU beat them, but like if it is like a significant beatdown from Duke, and they're coming off of a bye week, that's the only way I see them really having that conversation. I don't know what his buyout looks like, but I think a lot of these schools have proven that it doesn't matter. The amount of dead money in coaches' buyouts is ridiculous, especially in the SEC. But Florida State would be on that level financially with their investment in Norvell. So, Brian, you got it?
I've got the number. Y'all want to guess what it is?
27 million.
Keep going up.
40?
Keep going up.
50?
52
Keep going
million.
up.
60
Keep
million.
going.
What?
Keep going.
70?
$65 million buyout.
That fool ain't going nowhere.
Wow. I'd be trying to get fired.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I would be like Ed Orgeron. What was that, Orgeron or whatever? Like, where's the door? Tell me how quickly I can leave.
So this is what I found from the Tallahassee Democrat paper. A buyout of Norvell would prove costly. Norvell would be paid $65 million not to coach the Seminoles, or 85% of his base salary and supplemental pay for the remainder of the contract, which expires December 31st, 2031. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, he just signed an
Man.
extension, I think, after last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah. And we need to get him to give.
Take a knee every down.
we need to get him to donate to the Duke's NIL with that kind of salary.
That's crazy.
So, all right. Yeah. So I don't know, man. At the end of the day, I obviously don't see him getting rid of him, but man, it could make for some great FSU Twitter meltdown if we could stomp them on Friday night.
All right. Next up is at Sit NUOK. He said, I enjoyed a stress-free weekend. Can we continue that trend by coming out hot and improving third down conversion rates? Need less 3-and-outs to aid the defense. Amen, brother. Amen.
Yeah, that's
those third and shorts. We don't like. I hope that we worked on something a little more, like less throwing the ball 45 yards down the field and more just getting that first down.
well, that's kind of something they talked about today. All three gentlemen mentioned it about the self-scouting that they did, where the defense pointed out some offensive tendencies that they could do to change better. Offense pointed out defensive tendencies. So, obviously it's a good chance to go back and look and see things they've done wrong. Brewer mentioned it, that there were things that they saw that just don't work. So they're talking about trashing them. I mean, I can get them a list if they want it really bad, because I can think of a bunch of things right now. But things that work well, keep going to the well. But yeah, the 3rd and 1 throwing a 45-yard pass is just gotta stop.
Yeah, because unless you absolutely know you're going for it on 4th and short, I mean, I don't mind throwing a bomb on 3rd and short if you're like, okay, hey, we're going to pick this 4th and 1 up next. But a few times it's been Duke throws a bomb, Duke misses on 4th down, and then we're right back where we were. At Bleed In Duke Blue, do y'all anticipate, and Scott spoke to this a little bit, and he can speak to a little bit more from the presser. Do y'all anticipate we'll see any changes to the offensive approach coming out of the bye week? Or do we believe it's going to kind of look the same as before? And we had another similar question sorry if I butcher your name here, at Renanch, Marcus, Marquise, I think, actually, maybe. If I butchered it, I'm sorry. Just message me and I'll do better.
I'm gonna say you probably butchered it, Jamie. Not gonna lie.
I likely butchered that. So just message me. I'll do better next time. I promise. But he says, what should be the main points of improvements in our offense for the FSU game? will Malik ever run? And I can answer that and say, no, he will not. I do not believe he will ever run. We've seen him. He looks like a baby deer kind of scrambling around out there. I just don't think it's his game.
He's got the Peyton Manning running skills, which is to
Yeah.
say not that much. But one of the things that we mentioned today, talking about Florida State, was this defensive line, and this defense is one of the better defenses that Duke has seen all year. And the O line is definitely going to get challenged. And I think Manny and Coach Brewer both mentioned that these guys, most of these guys on the D line, will be playing football on Sundays very soon. So it's definitely something Duke's going to have to work with. And they kind of got pushed around a little bit against Georgia Tech, especially in the second half. Star and Peyton didn't have the room that they had in previous games. Some of that was situations. I believe personally, that's just watching the game. They got themselves in some situations like we've talked about many times, where you're sitting at a 3rd and 8 when you really don't need 3rd and 8. You're just making bad decisions on 1st and 2nd down. But anyway, so it would be nice to see that them use things that worked, have some success, because and this is another thing they mentioned multiple times today. When the offense does get rolling, it's pretty doggone good, and it's hard to stop it. But there's way too many of the sluggish, maybe get a 1st down and then have 3 plays and do nothing and punt. I mean, there's going to be some sustained drives. Got to get the ball down the field. Got to be good with the football if you're going to pass it. And, just use the clock. That's one of the things that, Georgia Tech did, obviously. They kept the football. They let their running back / quarterback, both of them, just line up. Okay, stop us. Did the same thing over at Chapel Hill College last week, which, by the way, wasn't that awesome that they gave up that long touchdown run after they tied the game and everybody there thought we were going to overtime? Ha ha, you didn't go, baby. You lost.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. To answer the question and to piggyback on what Scott was saying, there absolutely needs to be improvement on the offense, right? You have a full bye week. You've got Jonathan Packey and Manny Diaz, I'm assuming, looking at the offense and really giving some feedback there. I would love to see Duke have some like back pocket plays that like we know if we need 3 or 4 yards, like we can run this play and we can get 3 or 4 yards, whether it's a running play, a rollout, whatever it may be. But like I feel like every good team has those plays, and a lot of times you see them run as like 2-point conversion plays, in like the end of the game situation. Like I believe Clemson won the national title running like that pick play, where the running back runs out and they crack down. Whatever it may be, I think Duke needs to have a couple of plays that they feel like we can pretty much guarantee ourselves we can get 3 or 4 yards here, and then you utilize them to their advantage. So I would love to see that small improvement of like we know we can go to this. It's kind of a go-to, and you can't stop it because there are plays in football that you just can't stop. I mean, so anyway,
To me, I think that the play that they like to run is the one where they run Nicky in motion and then dump it to him. And one of the things, and we may get to this eventually, but I want to point it out. Watching Manny's show last week, Star tripped over Malik's foot. That's what happened on that play. He tripped over his foot. He didn't just fall the turf monster to get him. He tripped over Malik's foot.
And let's be honest, honestly, Friday night, let's just run the football. It could be, as Brian discussed earlier with the stats, FSU's not got a great run defense. I feel like it could be a game where Star Thomas has another big game where he was kind of slowed down by Georgia Tech. We knew that could be an issue at Georgia Tech, that running the ball could have been an issue, but Friday night, I really think that Star could have a big game. Next up, I thought this was a good question. Jonathan Huggins says it might not be football related, but he wanted to know, do any of the 4 of us have any game day rituals? And for me, I don't really. That my game day ritual used to be sitting at the top of section 17. Thanks, Duke, for taking that away from us with the big deck. They kind of slopped their big deck out there and took our seats away. But that was That was my ritual. I mean, how about you guys? I don't really
So
have one.
I will say this on games where we're not at a away game, like if I'm watching it, I'm actually like super like quiet and I don't want anybody around me and I just want to watch the game. And like I typically don't react until like the very end, whether positively or negatively if it's a close game. So that's kind of I'm like stay out of everybody stay away. Like that's not the time to come in and have my daughters ask me like what's a third down and what does that mean? You know what I mean? So like I'm just kind of like leave me alone, let me watch the game. So I would say that's like a ritual of mine if I'm not at a game. I don't really have a ritual um at home games now. What about you guys? Anybody, Scott, Brian, anything? Nah.
I mean, I would say the one difference that I always had on a game where I'm at the house, if Duke is rolling and they're having a great season, I would pause the game before it started, let it play for about 10 minutes, and then play the catch up game. Because in my mind, it always worked out that they won those games. So maybe it's a mind over matter thing. So maybe I should have done that for the Georgia Tech game instead of what I did watching it live when it started.
Well, Scott, are you just going to ignore the fact that you always paint your chest blue in your house on away games?
Hey, that's personal stuff that doesn't need to get out there.
Oh, sorry.
Don't need that on
Sorry.
the internets. Okay.
All right. Unless Brian has anything else, I'm gonna head to the next.
I got nothing. I'm sorry. I'm the dull one.
Hey, my ritual is watching the Panthers lose every Sunday.
Keep pouting.
Brian's ritual is going to bed at 7:30 p.m.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, these 8:00 games are killing me.
We need a 12 noon game.
Please, just one noon game. That's all I'm asking.
I wish all of you listeners could be in our group text when that 8:00 start got announced on Monday.
We started crying.
The three grandfathers here that I have to deal with all were pouting about it. That's true, Scott. You're right. I'm sorry. In fairness, Scott wasn't one of them. The other two
guy that wants to get there at 7:00 in the morning and tailgate and hang out all day.
The other
I
two
want to spend my Saturday with my friends and extended family there on the campus of Duke.
The first thing I said was
guys.
The first thing I said was, there is no way I'm getting there at 8 a.m. It's like,
see. Anyway, all right, go ahead, Jamie. Let's keep it rolling.
All right, Kirk Klein, is there any way we can sue the ACC to make them fire and replace all of the officials? This conference has to be the laughing stock of the country, and we feel you there. I wish there could be, but this has been going on for years now. So
I'll never forget. We can say it now that he's gone, but I was in a meeting that Coach Elko held with some like former players and some alumni. I forget exactly what it was, but it was before he left. And he walked in, and the first thing he said was like, "Man, those refs screwed us in the Carolina game, didn't they?" And like, I mean, it just is what it is, man. And like, now I will say they're terrible and they're bad. I am not one of those people that thinks there's like this conspiracy out there, of like specifically like they want Duke to lose because blah, blah, blah. I don't think that. But I do think that, man, there's some really poor decision makers out there that happen to be referees. And if other people in important jobs around the country were as bad at their jobs as some of the referees are, like they'd get fired. So
I'll just say this, like I said the other night, Charlotte sometimes in the replay center is asleep at the wheel.
All right, now this next question, I don't know if there was something said at the press conference, so Scott can speak to that. At Ross Jacob 684 said, "Is there any update on if Jaquez and Nick Morris will play on Friday?" I think we're pretty sure that Jaquez is probably going to try to play at least.
So the question came up. He said Nick Morris may be a little bit longer. He never mentioned Jaquez Moore. So I think that's a positive sign. Said Nick may need a couple more weeks.
All right, and here's our last question. Lane Phipps comes in with the every time we touch again. Since you guys are consistent in your stance of distaste for every time we touch and refuse to give your listeners what they all want in singing it on the pod, which would you rather the marching band play before the game? Every time we touch, or that annoying FSU war chant?
let me tell you something. If they play the Tomahawk Chop war chant, I will be actually legitimately mad because
Yeah.
that is like it's
Yeah.
one thing to play like their alma mater or their fight song, but it's another thing to like lead their crowd in a chant at
That
our
would be
that would be rough.
classic. That would be classic
Well,
Duke.
yeah, I was
That would
going
be
to say
classic Duke.
we played Sweet Caroline when Pitt came to town. We played In the Air Tonight when UNC came to town. What else
But
have we
see,
done?
but in the air tonight, that was the intro for Duke coming out, which I think was a troll job.
I was going to say it's also it's still a way to get UNC hype because they hear it every home game. So
Yeah. But I mean, I think that was a troll job. But I mean, I just cannot see us. We are like the friendliest, evidently, in the ACC. I cannot see us doing that. That would be like at the NC State game last year for us to be like, "Wolf," and like seeing if they would respond with "Pack." You know, like that's pretty bad. Or like leading the Tar Heel chant, you know, with the Carolina crowd. But we shall see. But once again,
So-
thank you for bringing up our distaste and disdain for every time we touch.
So your answer would be every time we touch.
Look here, I would say
I
I
this
get
much.
that feeling.
I honestly, when they play the song, everybody loves it, and it does seem to help the team out. I'm okay with them playing the song, whether I agree with it's a football song or not. There's no freaking way I'm going to sit there and sing it. But hey, if it gets the fans hype, gets the crowd loud, do it. That's fine. But you're not going to catch my butt in there singing it and doing the dancing and mess. That's just not
All right,
going
hold
to
up.
happen.
I got y'all. All right, that's all I got.
What was that? Brian, take it away.
what the hell was that?
Was
Couldn't
it
hear-
not coming? Was it not coming through the mic?
No. Oh, we had
Oh.
you. Oh, this is all you did. You're like, yeah.
How did it not come through? It was like
We didn't
screaming in my out of my phone there.
No
Oh,
noise
well.
canceling. Oh well.
Oh, you know what? We had that setting where it does for real. It'll like
Yep.
it won't have the background noise. So it works. StreamYard works.
That's hilarious.
Well, I played a clip of every time we touch. So for all of you who are wanting that, that's what I played. So anyway, well, listen, Jamie, thanks for doing that. We want to shout out our sponsor, our Iron D sponsor, which is El Rodeo, a Mexican restaurant on North Duke Street in Durham. We want to encourage you to head that way, maybe Friday afternoon, you know, or for lunch before the game. Hit up El Rodeo. I went this past Sunday. I got one of my favorites, the Fajitas Texas. That's got the steak, the chicken, and the scrimps. And so that's always good. Remember, they do have a private room. I believe if you have a party of around 20 or so or more, you can go to use that private room for free. Great atmosphere, great people. Tell them you listen to the Section 17 podcast. That is El Rodeo, North Duke Street, about 10 to 12 minutes away from campus. And let them know that you are listeners. So thank you to El Rodeo for being our Iron D sponsor for the podcast. And then, as always, and we did this last week, even on the bye week, because, you know, the bye weeks aren't the same every year. So this week, we do have more history, right, Scott? We got some things to talk about this week in Blue Devil history with our big dog, Scott Medlin. Take it away.
So we're going to go a long ways back. We're going to go 365 days ago, October 14th, 2023, and quite possibly one of the craziest weather days that you'll ever have while we tailgated. Monsoons, lightning in the morning, and then sunny about 3 p.m., and then rain at halftime. Yeah, basically North Carolina in about 12 hours. Pretty much is what happened that afternoon. But Duke defeats the Wolfpack from Raleigh 24-3 after going down 3-0 behind a 57-yard field goal, which honestly felt like it was from 75 as long as that boy kicked it. Henry Beelan hit Jalen Calhoun with a 69-yard touchdown pass. Now, Henry's numbers not the greatest in the world, but finished 4-12 for 107 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interceptions. But he also played the game with a bad shoulder. Jordan Waters had his best game probably as a Blue Devil, and hadn't had one since then as far as I can tell over in the other uniform. Still love you, Jordan. But 13 rushes for 123 yards and a touchdown. Our guy, Jeremiah Hazley, had 2 catches for 29 yards and his first career touchdown reception as a Blue Devil. Trey Freeman led the team with 15 tackles and an INT. And the Todd father kicked a 52-yard field goal that afternoon to help the Blue Devils win 24-3 over the Wolfpack of NC State.
And that was this week in Blue Devil history. If you remember, Duke attempted one second half pass and put a spanking. Now I will say that game did wake the Wolfpack up because they finished the season kind of on a tear after that game. And so kind of what Duke's hoping to do is maybe wake up in their bye week and finish the second half of the season in a similar fashion. So shout out to last year's team and taking care of business there. This week in Blue Devil history is followed up each week by a thing we've called for the last 4.5 seasons, the tale of the tape. It gives you the history background of our opponent, of the matchup. Obviously, this Duke-Florida State matchup, a little bit lopsided. Brian, tell us a little bit more about it on this week's Tale of the Tape.
Lopsided is an understatement. Okay, Florida State, Tale of the Tape. Last year, Florida State went 13-1 and won the ACC championship, defeating Louisville. They would then move on to the Orange Bowl, where we all remember they would be stomped by Georgia 63-3. Now, currently, Florida State is 1-5 and 1-4 overall in conference play. The last time FSU did play was 2 weeks ago when they were defeated by Clemson 29-13. Head coach Mike Norvell is in his 5th season with the Seminoles and has an overall record of 70-37, and he is also 1-4 in bowl games. Now, before becoming the Florida State head coach in 2020, Norvell was the head coach of the Memphis Tigers from 2016 to 2019. Before that, Norvell had assistant coaching stints, I should say, at both Arizona State, Pitt, and Tulsa. Now, overall, this is the 23rd meeting all-time between Duke and Florida State, with Florida State owning the series, as we stated, going a perfect 22-0 against Duke. The first ever meeting between the Blue Devils and Seminoles took place on September 5th, 1992 at Doak Campbell Stadium, where FSU won 48-21. From 1992 until 2007, the two teams would square off yearly. Since 2007, however, Duke and FSU have only played 6 times. Last year, as we can all remember, FSU defeated Duke 38-20 in Tallahassee, and the closest Duke has come to defeating FSU was back in 2017 when the Blue Devils lost 17-10 in Wallace Wade Stadium. This was also the last time Florida State played in Durham. Now, after this year's game, the Duke and Florida State series will take another hiatus, and the two teams will not play again until 2027. Now it's time for Did You Know? Arguably the greatest spectacle in college football unfolds moments before kickoff at Doak Campbell Stadium when Seminole warrior Osceola charges down the field aboard Renegade, an Appaloosa horse, and plants a flaming spear at midfield prior to the start of each home game. Bill Durham, a 1965 FSU graduate, developed the concept of Osceola and Renegade riding out before the games. The new tradition would be approved in 1978 after Durham was granted permission from the Seminole Tribe of Florida to depict Osceola. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, so my apologies to FSU fans. The tradition officially began on September 16, 1978, when student Jim Kidder, portraying Osceola, led the Florida State team from the tunnel, riding Renegade 1 as the Seminoles played Oklahoma State. The new tradition would stick after then 16th ranked FSU would defeat Oklahoma State 38-20. Since that first game, there have been 17 FSU students who have portrayed the Seminole Chief, as well as 6 Renegade horses. Now, the students who take on the famous role must undertake a 2-year apprenticeship, demonstrate the necessary riding abilities, and must maintain at least a GPA of 3.0. To this day, the Durham family provides the horses used to portray Renegade, and they personally select the student that will portray the Seminole Chief. And that was the tale of the tape for the Florida State Seminoles. Josh?
Nice. And there is nothing like experiencing that in person. I will say that was really cool. And also shout out to them and their work with the Seminole tribe, because they really do try to go out of their way to make sure they're honoring that tradition and not in any way exploiting it. So I think that's really cool. Scott?
But also to add on the did you know part of that, the blue uniforms that they wear, that is something that the
Yep. It's
tribe.
from that tribe. Yep.
Now they've only worn that for practice though, right? Or spring games. They haven't done it officially for a game uniform.
No, I
have
think they have. I think they
I think
have.
because their student store or bookstore was full of that stuff.
Yep.
And Josh will tell you
Well,
the
I mean-
truth. I mean, that's what they
No,
have more
I-
of that than anything else.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if the team has actually worn it in a game.
I believe they have.
They have. All right,
Yeah.
I'll still effort.
Yeah. But anyway, we do want to thank you for following along. If you're following along on YouTube, comment. As we mentioned earlier, you can win tickets if you comment. But commenting there and subscribing, we really appreciate that. Facebook, our Facebook group, just search for Duke Football Talk. We have a great Facebook family. Many of our questions Jamie read tonight were from our Facebook family. Obviously, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Duke FB Talk. And then if you listen, Apple, Spotify, I will say we didn't get a new review for this week, but we have hit our 80th 5-star rating. And so like that's really cool. We really appreciate you being loyal listeners. And yeah, really cool, really cool. So thank you so much for that. Share our podcast with a Duke fan. And we'd love to continue growing what we've got here. It's time for some predictions. We didn't have a game last week, so we don't have to worry about giving out the winners. Scott already took care of that for last week. And so let's talk about this week, Friday night in Wallace Wade. What is our over under? What's the spread? And we'll tell you what we think is going to go down.
Real quick, the football team has only worn the blue jerseys for the spring game. The men's basketball team has actually worn blue jerseys in an official game. So
gotcha. Yeah, they do have those jerseys all over.
They're
their
nice.
store.
Oh yeah, I love how they look. I wish they would wear them in like an actual game. I think that'd be really cool. As I looked earlier, Duke is now a 4-point favorite, and the over/under is only 42.5 points. So Vegas thinks it's going to be a low-scoring affair. I was gonna look up jersey history, but as I stated in tail of the tape, the last time Duke and Florida State played in Durham was 7 years ago, so there would be no point in trying to bring up the history of the jerseys. Plus, Florida State usually has their traditional jerseys. They're one of the schools that it's garnet, it's white, and it's gold probably. But whoever wants to start, I don't have to go first. I'll let someone else take the floor if they want to, as far as score and jersey predictions.
I'll go ahead and go first. Since I don't have to plead for the fan base to get out there and watch the game Friday night, sold out. It's one of the few times in a big game that I actually don't have to plead for anybody to come out. So thank you to the Duke fans that actually did that. Beautiful job. And like Brian said earlier, it'd be great if it was more blue than garnet and gold. So anyway, we'll work that part out between ourselves. So let's see. As far as the uniforms, I mean, I wouldn't mind them rocking the hot hand, wearing a little black on black, but they're not going to do that this time. They're not going to do it. I think we're going to go blue out. I really believe we're going to blow it. Now, that being said, my only thing is, are we going to see the Gothic Duke, or are we going to see everybody's favorite helmet that's in the end zone, the Hellraiser? That's my only thing I'm worried about as far as trying to pick which one. I'm going to go with the Hellraiser because I think that's the greatest thing ever. And I think a blue out would be perfect. No, I thought Brian was trying to tell me something.
No, you're right. That is cool, but continue. I don't want to interrupt your.
I mean,
your
the
mojo.
Gothic thing would be cool too, either way. But I kind of like anyway, especially a sold out crowd would be a great deal. As far as the score, and I think it's going to be a defensive game. 42 may be a premium. Now, if there's more than 42 points scored, hope to God it's on Duke's side. But I think we're looking at probably, I'm going to say a 24-17. And I think that's pushing it. Honestly, I don't know if Florida State can score 17, especially against our defense. I really think Duke's defense could not shut them down, but keep them in check and only give up maybe 10 points. But we'll go 24-17. Make Vegas not happy at the end of the night because that's always fun.
Scott, I'm laughing, man. That is my exact score. I'm not exaggerating. I put it in earlier, so great minds think alike. You mentioned riding the hot hand. and it was a question that Jamie didn't pose on here, but the grounds crew did ask, would we like to see the Hellraiser back in the end zone for this weekend's game? Everyone emphatically said yes. My mind is this. We typically only have the Hellraiser for UNC week. But as we were told, Manny lets the team ultimately decide, for the most part, what to wear. If they were 6-0 wearing all blacks, guess what? We'd be doing all blacks again this weekend. I think blacks are back, especially with it being a primetime game. I just don't know what's on the helmet. If the grounds crew's asking if the Hellraiser should be back, that leads me to believe that it will be all black with the Hellraiser. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to say all black with the Hellraiser. Finally broke the curse against North Carolina. Why not break another curse, defeating Florida State and the All Blacks? Blacks are back, baby. Let's roll.
By the way, we also wore the Hellraiser in the Middle Tennessee game, so it wasn't just the Carolina game.
The white,
so.
well, yeah, but the white one. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
I understand. Breaking
I'm gonna
curses.
go. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I mean, I think this is kind of cool. I think this would be a kind of cool one. I'm gonna go white, blue, white with the Hellraiser. So like white, blue, white. That's like a traditional Duke thing. But the white Hellraiser with the blue devil guy on it. So we'll do that. Somebody's got to believe in this Duke offense. I'm just crazy enough to think that what they talked about in the bye week is going to help. So I think I'm going to go 34. Duke scores 34 points. That'd be awesome. 34-13. 34-13. I can't believe I'm saying that. 34-13 Duke over Florida State. I could get laughed at by saying that, but I'm going that way. So we'll see. Jamie, what are your thoughts?
All right. I feel the same way that Brian does about the uniform. Speaking of the grounds crew, great follow. If you don't follow them at Duke Grounds Crew, best in the business. But can we take the Bull City logo off? I mean, I'm just saying. I don't really love that logo. Love the Hellraiser logo. But anyways, I'm gonna go all black uniforms. All black uniforms. Hellraiser on the helmet. These guys are trying to get me right here at the end. And I think it's gonna be a close game throughout. My final score: Duke 27, FSU 13. I think it's close throughout. Duke scores a touchdown in the fourth quarter, makes it a 2-score game, and we get off the 0-4 against Florida State and get that first win.
Nice. So we've swept them on our predictions, and we're always right. Just kidding. But Jamie was right in the last game, the Georgia Tech game. So we'll give him credit for that. Yeah, give him credit. Well, listen, it's been a great episode. We want to remind you to enter the ticket giveaway by going to Matt Bliven or the Duke Football Talk Instagram, following both accounts and liking the post. That'll get you entered once. Sharing it on your story and tagging both of us will get you entered a second time. And then coming back to YouTube and commenting "Go Duke" on this YouTube video will get you entered a third time. Tickets are hard to come by. They're expensive. We're going to give you 4 of them for free, courtesy of our friend Matt Bliven and his sponsorship. And so do want to continue to echo what Brian said earlier, that our thoughts and prayers with the Kraft family and the UNC football family and kind of what they're going through. You can imagine. I cannot imagine what they're going through. And anyway, that's just been such a rough thing to see and to be following along. And so our thoughts and prayers are with them for sure. Have we missed anything, Brian? Are we ready to close up shop?
I think we are good. The predictions post, we're changing it up starting this week. That was one thing that a little bit of confusion. I take the blame for that one. We will, beginning this week, come out. Our prediction post will be the one where we have photos of ourselves with our predictions with both the score and the jersey combo, that will be the post where you, the fans, will give your thoughts on who you think will win, what the team will wear, et cetera, et cetera. We will go off of that. Other than that, I
Oh,
think
Brian puts that together, guys. So I'm just going to tell you from now on. I just thought about this just to be a jerk because that's what I do. I'm going to pick the craziest uniform combo. So Brian has to go try to find it and put that on my
I
post.
did find your white, blue, white just now, by the way.
All right, so I got to do something different next week.
You're gonna be like, I'm gonna go with the devil in hell logo on a yellow helmet.
That's right. That's right. We'll put you to work, man. Put you to work.
Oh,
No, we appreciate all you do, man, for sure. For sure. Take us out of here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Another great episode in the books. We hope to see as many of you as possible on Friday night. It is a big game, possibly one of the biggest, if not the biggest game of the year for Duke football. If you've been a Duke fan long enough, you know how much this game would mean to the Duke community if Duke can finally overcome the odds and defeat the Florida State Seminoles. But that will do it for us. Again, we hope to see as many of you as possible. But for Josh Cox, Scott Medlin, Jamie Holt, and producer Tyler Witt, I'm Brian Kennedy. And this has been another episode of the Duke Football Talk Section 17 podcast.
Let's go!